Hey there and welcome to this video. Today I want to show you how you can get your screenshots into your game by creating your own custom content picture frames. Little disclaimer though, I'm not that experienced when it comes to creating custom content, so there's a lot that I don't know or don't understand. So there are also a few things that I'm not that happy about, but it's just, I don't know, if you want, I don't know, your family photo in the game and you just have it as a screenshot, this is one way you could do it. Alright, so I'm starting in the Sims Resource Workshop. I'm just gonna click on Create New Project and then Object and Next. And now I'm gonna sort through Decor and Paintings, if I could find it. Paintings and Posters. I'm gonna scroll down to the lip painting example, whatever. You could just leave it like that, but I'm gonna rename that as Family Photos. I'm gonna copy that to the others as well. And click Next and OK. Alright, and now I'm gonna click on Mesh and export the right arrow over here. I'm just gonna export this as a wavefront object, but I've already done that, so I'm not gonna do that again. Okay, so next I'm gonna open Blender. I'm just gonna delete the default cube by hitting X and then delete, and now File, Import and Wavefront Objects, and you're just gonna look through where you have your photo and click on import. So I'm gonna delete this shadow background over here, that plane. So again, click on X, and now we have a base, and I'm gonna hit on the numpad the key 1 and also 5 to go to the I think it's orthograph. Wait, I can check. Yeah, orthographic view, just because it's a little bit easier to have an overview. And now I'm just gonna go to, make sure you have the object selected, and I'm gonna go to edit mode, or you can either do it over here and click on edit mode, or you can just hit the tab key and switch between edit and object mode. And I'm also gonna click on this symbol over here so that you can see the vertices or edges of faces that are not in the front. And I can see that I don't need this part over here, so I'm just gonna select that, and you can just click on the L key to select everything that's attached to that face or vertice, whatever you have set. You can change it to vertice, edge or face over here, so on the bottom corner, and then just hit X and delete vertices. So I'm going back to the front view, and now I'm just clicking, hitting the B key and selecting those vertices. Oh, and I kind of messed it up because you can see that just not everything is selected, or not as much as I want to. So I'm gonna click this again. I kind of messed this up. Oh no, actually I didn't. Oh no, I realized what I messed up. Okay, because I selected the faces and not the vertices. So make sure you click on the vertice over here, and now again B, and select that, and you can see that I have this right side selected, and I'm just gonna move that over here so that it's a different format. By the way, because if you would scale it, you could also scale that along the x-axis, but then you would have the issue that the width of the frame basically would change, so that this is thinner than this one, which I obviously don't want, so that's why I'm moving that. Okay, and now I'm clicking A and A again, and now D to duplicate it. No, it's actually it's Shift-D. And right click, and now I can move it again and move it down, something like that. Now I also want different sizes, so I'm gonna Shift-D again, move it up, and I'm gonna do it the same way as before, that I'm just gonna select the vertices just by clicking B, or actually I'm gonna do it differently. I'm gonna select the top ones and move it down, kind of like that. And I'm just gonna hit L to, or actually I'm gonna do it with the B key to select everything, or just that frame basically. Now I'm gonna rotate. So to do that, just click on the R key and just type in 90 to rotate it 90% or in a 90-degree angle. And now again, you can move it, and you can keep doing this and create the sizes you need, and just move them around until you have something you like. But yeah, so now we go back to the object mode. So just hit the tab key again, and we're gonna click on Control A, and now apply rotation and scale. This is for the UV map. By the way, I'm gonna close this by clicking T, and I'm gonna drag this over to the side, and I'm gonna open the image editor over here, and we're gonna switch back to edit mode and select everything. And now you can see that everything is this are basically the UV maps of those frames, which are right now all the same size, but you can see that the frames are obviously different sizes. And we also need to use those to create an overlay to, you know, insert the picture, so they can't overlap here like they're doing right now. So we're just gonna click on, make sure that your mouse is on this side, and click on U, and now just unwrap, and you can see that it looks completely different. So I'm just gonna make sure to kind of sort through. You can just click A here as well, and then scale it down so that you can organize it a little bit better, and make sure you can click on those. Wait, I'm gonna click on that so that I can actually see everything, and I'm gonna turn this transparency thingy, visible thing, whatever, off. And so I'm gonna click that, and I can see that's the top layer. So here, this will on there, above this needs to be an image for the you know, that's gonna be shown in the frame basically. So I'm gonna move that away, and I'm gonna do that with every single piece, so that I have enough space to overlay a picture later. Okay, the next thing that I want to do is to make sure that the frame parts are all looking to the same direction, so that when we use a material, by the way, what's that? I think those are the edges. But so that if we use a material, that they are all facing the same direction. If I would have like a stripe pattern, for example, just because I think it's the easiest to explain right now, it would go like now, it would go completely, you know, the stripes could either go completely like that or completely like that. But I want them to go alongside of the frame. So I want, you know, here to be stripes, or I want, for example, stripes like that and like that. And as it is right now, it would be either one way or the other, but I want them to go along the frame itself or the single wooden parts. So we need to make sure that they are all facing the same way. So you can either click, use the L key, or I need to change the setting here though. Just select everything, and then you can click here on A, and you can either do it with the L key, hovering over it, and then L, and then Shift L the other parts, and then you could just rotate 90 and you have it facing this direction. Or you could also go with the B key, or also you can select with the C key like that. Now, very important that everything you place, it has to be placed within this grid. You can't go over here. Alright, so I actually kind of moved those items around so that I could save a little bit space and scale it back up, or at least a little bit, that it's a little bit bigger. And what I'm gonna do next is gonna go over to this world icon, and I'm gonna check ambient occlusion, environment lighting, and indirect lighting. I'm gonna click the sample, or set the samples to 20. And then I'm gonna click on this camera icon and go down here to bake, click on it. I'm gonna set margin to 2, and instead of full render, I'm gonna choose ambient occlusion as the bake mode. Now we need to click on new, and I think I'm going with 2048 and 2048 here as well. And then just click OK. and then click on bake, and this can take a little bit depending how complex your object is. Okay, so the bake is done, and now I'm just gonna click on not that but image, and then save as image. Choose the folder where you want to save it under, and I'm just gonna save it as I can't spell multiplier, and then save as image. Okay, but we're gonna come back to that later. Now we're gonna click back, go back to, oh, this might be a little bit too big, I think. So I think I'm just gonna scale that down, move it like that, maybe move it a little bit up. We need to check it out in game how it looks. I mean, I could, as a reference, load the original item back in to see where that is positioned and how big that is. Okay, I think that's fine like that. I like that. Okay, but I'm gonna delete the other item again. So delete, and the background layer as well. By the way, I haven't figured out shadow layers or those shadows yet, so that's why I'm just gonna ignore them. So select the object and then just click on File, and then Export and Wavefront Object again. And I'm gonna click on my folder, and I'm gonna say Family Photos, name it Family Photos 2. I'm gonna export this. Oh, I'm stupid. We're gonna do that again. Export as wavefront object. Make sure that you click on selection only, because there are in the I'm just gonna override it, because there are cameras and lights, and so this will export everything that's here, and we don't want that. We just want that, so just click on selection only. Now we're gonna go to milk shape and import that. So import wavefront object. I'm gonna click on Family Photos 2, and not the reference but the one we just created. I'm gonna click on Face and Smooth All. Now we're gonna go over here to Materials and delete the ones that are here. So delete the materials. I'm gonna rename the group to Group 0. And make sure to click on rename, that it actually renames it. And I'm gonna click on export and make sure you have the right plugins installed so that this shows up. So export as a TSRW object, and I'm gonna save it as Photos 02. Well, actually I could save it as Family Photos because it's a different file. It's not a wavefront object anymore, or a 3D file. Okay, and now we can go back to the Sims Resource, or not the Sims Resource, but the Sims Resource Workshop, and this time we're gonna click on the import button, so the green one over here, and click on the family oh, and that's the issue because we don't have a shadow. So we're gonna delete the shadow. The shadow is that one with the less vertices and less faces, so it's group 0. So we're just gonna remove that one and click yes. And now try again. And now it works. Okay, this still looks weird. We're gonna work on that in a minute. I'm also gonna import that as a medium level of detail, because otherwise if you have lower settings and you zoom out, this image will show up and you want the same mesh basically. So I'm just gonna, you could also create a mesh with less faces, which I would recommend if you have more complex, but this is already a not too complex. It doesn't have that many faces anyway. I mean, over 1,000, but I think that should be fine for, I have no idea, but it should work. I'm just gonna assume it's gonna work. And now we're gonna go to GIMP. So I opened the multiplier image into GIMP because I need to export it as a DDS file. So I'm gonna say export to. I'm going to there I'm gonna rename this to from PNG to DDS. Click export, and now here are a few things that I want to change. First, compression. I'm gonna select BC to DXT3. To be honest, I have no idea what those things do, also within Blender, but I have issues with with the textures if I don't do this, and I think this might help. I don't know. And then I'm gonna click at mip maps. Gonna click on generate mip maps, and then I'm gonna export it. Now back to the Sims Resource Workshop. I'm gonna click here on the multiplier and then add it, and then I'm just gonna import what I just did. By the way, I already did this, so that's why I have another folder over here with the previous ones. And then I'm gonna import that multiplier and click on OK. But now it still looks really odd, so we do need to also change the mask and obviously the overlay. Alright, so what we need to do next is to import the screenshots that we want to see inside the frames. Alright, and I'm also gonna use Blender as a guide to know where which picture is basically. For example, my first one I want it to be here, so it's that one. So I'm gonna scale this down, and obviously it will look a little bit blurry obviously, so I'm gonna scale this down and just overlay that. I'm gonna zoom in. I moved the multiplier on top, and I'm gonna just lower the opacity so that I can actually see that if it's covering the picture or not. I'm gonna select that again and scale it, oops, not grab it, but scale it further down so that it actually fits. Alright, so I added all those pictures. Make sure that they don't overlap. I mean, they can obviously overlap over here, but you should make sure that they don't, you know, go over where it's actually, because those gray areas are that's what you see of the picture basically. So it should not, so this should, for example, this picture should not go over here. So I kind of erased it, but it can overlap outside of that gray area, if that makes sense. I hope so. What I'm gonna do next is make one layer with all the images. Wait, first of all, you need to hide the multiplier layer because we don't want that to be seen. And then I'm gonna click on new of visible, and then I'm gonna hide every other layer so that I just have one layer that I can export. I'm not sure if that's important, but I sometimes have issues importing those. Okay, and here I'm gonna do the exact same thing. So I'm just gonna export this as a DDS. This time I'm gonna rename this, oh no, not mask, but overlay, and export. And it should actually save though. Yeah, it's still BC2 and generate map maps. And so I'm gonna export this and go back to the Sims Resource Workshop. That's a lot to say. And I'm just gonna, you can see here, overlay, and I'm importing this as well. And this should add all those photos. Now I also want to create a new mask, so I'm just gonna open a new layer, transparent. I'm gonna hide this one, and I'm gonna use a pure red as a color. I'm just gonna paint, wait, I'm gonna increase the scale. I'm just gonna make it, you could also use the fill tool, but the brush was just available, so that's why. And also export this one and import into the Sims Resource Workshop, but this time I'm gonna name that mask. And again, just import that mask, and look at that. And now you could, because you can see that the wood texture is kind of distorted, so you could actually change the style, not the, what am I talking, the size of that. So I'm just gonna experiment here a little bit. So maybe I'm gonna go with 5 and 5 just to see how this looks. I think that's a bit better. Maybe I'm going even higher with 1010 so that it's not too distorted, and I hope this makes sense. So that it looks a little bit more, that it's the texture is smaller, since I don't know what I'm talking here. Never mind. But yeah, I like this better than it looked before. Now it's time to actually export. Oh, you know what? I'm also gonna empty this one. Oh, that's not what I wanted. So to fix this, I'm also gonna make a file for this. This one I'm gonna make black, and I'm gonna export this just as a spec. I'm just gonna name the spec very quickly, and I'm gonna export that as well, obviously, and I think this should fix that. We'll see, but usually that already helps. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so now before we can export it, we actually have to save this. So I'm just gonna click on Save As and find my my file. So I'm just gonna name this photo very quickly, and then I'm gonna go to Edit and Project Contents, and I'm gonna select everything over here. Gonna right click on that and then renumber, click second instance ID and then click on make random and OK. And now all you need to do is to export it to package. I'm gonna just click OK on that, and you can name this whatever you want, and photo, and all you need to do now is to put this into your mods folder. And yeah, that's how it looks in the game. I mean, you saw it in the beginning of the video. It is large, but I kind of like it because it fills a lot of wall space, and you have, I mean, obviously it's not that high of a resolution, but if you zoom out, and that's how you're gonna see it, you still recognize your pictures. And I know who's who, and I recognize those screenshots, and yeah, I like that, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe it was helpful. If you have some tips for me, things that or if you're more experienced, please let me know, and everyone else who might be watching this video. I'm not sure if anyone will watch this video, I don't know. I still wanted to do it, and maybe at some point I make an updated version, but yeah, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed it and that it was maybe helpful. I don't know, let me know if it was, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. Oh, by the way, I realized I just used the newest save file. I realized that you can see all that when this video goes up, most of this, that you know, the sims that you see here on the right, those two don't even exist, and Jeremy obviously is missing. Are others missing? I don't think so. Maybe Brooke. I don't know. A lot has happened since then. But yeah, I just realized that while ending the video.